Hello again, and welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
And is brought to you by the good graces of Manhattan Neighborhood Network and EVT Educational Productions. And guys, we're taping, the Wednesday before our Monday air
Wednesday
date?
before.
So instead of trying to do blow-by-blow breaking news, we'll try to do background perspective news. And since we haven't been together in a while, why don't we do at least a perspective wrap on being black and brown in America? Because a bunch of stories came across my inbox. Ray, you want to start off with the very interesting story that came out of Illinois?
The Evanston, Illinois. Well, this alderman, or is it alderman or alderwoman? I've never had.
But it's a female alderperson.
Alderperson proposed a bill for reparations for the black community of Evanston,
and it passed.
Has it passed? I thought they were having a town hall on it on the 11th.
How to deal with
I see. So it's been passed, and now they're just going to decide how to do it. I'd be very curious in finding out how they're going to do it. I understand that the alderwoman has proposed it as opposed to, see, that's where I'm unclear, because originally she said a grant to the community, essentially, a block grant to the community. That's the way I read it.
An investment in the community. Grant, investment.
An investment in the community.
And
that could be, that could be any form. And she went on to speak of reparations to individuals, which is an investment in the black community.
Yeah, but I'm sure that the meeting that they're going to have will be discussing all kinds of
I'm really curious to see how they're going to pull it off. I mean, because as you say, anything can be done.
But you haven't said...
You've got to have the cooperation. I'm sorry?
You haven't said the punchline yet.
What is the punchline?
Well, they're going to invest that much money in reparations, but how are they going to raise it?
Sorry, folks. They're going to raise it by marijuana becomes legalized in Illinois in January, I believe, of 2020, and they're going to impose a 3% tax specifically for this fund, which I think is
on marijuana. Which is
marijuana sales, whatever whatever the industry. It's a 3% tax, and somewhere in that article, I read that part of the reason why they picked that particular crop was because so many African Americans and other people of color had been incarcerated over
70% of those incarcerated in Evanston, Illinois were of color.
People of color.
Yes.
You mean incarcerated on marijuana charges?
Incarcerated on marijuana charges, yes absolutely.
Yeah, you see that difference in every city.
That's about the national average.
That's about the national average.
I mean, that was. I remember my years at Columbia watching white students freely smoke around campus, and nothing would happen. But 2 blocks up the street at 127th Street, people of color will be.
Because that was the ghetto.
Yeah.
I mean, you step off the campus, you're in the ghetto.
That's the town and gown.
The town and gown thing.
The gown have privileges. The town does zilch.
Okay.
I haven't heard that.
Keep that in mind.
No.
Whether your town is in New York City or in some podunk, wherever in the middle of America, there's still a town gown divide.
Right.
Absolutely. So anyhow, I think that's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to see how this all shakes out.
That's an interesting story, and that's why we decided to lead with it, because, like Bob, we know about all these stop and frisk marijuana arrests just in the city of New York.
Sure.
We ran statistics on a gazillion shows about how many black and brown males primarily were being incarcerated for minor marijuana possessions. And they'd be in the system, and they would have a record, and someone would be in Rikers and someplace else for days, months without even coming to trial.
Yeah.
I mean, it just screwed up people's lives. Anyway, next on our list, Bob. What was the other being black and brown? What about the Broadway play?
I don't have that up. I'll call it up in a second.
Okay.
If I can find it. But okay. Which first of all, which play was it? It was
Slave Play.
The Slave Play. That's the name. That's the name of it.
And in the the
Broadway
play.
Star Responds.
Yes, the play was over. I mean, I guess it was the director.
The writer of the play.
They had a Q&A with the
Yeah,
audience.
basic
at the end of the
Q&A,
show.
you know, with the audience. Still the full house. Everyone's still lingering after the show, and apparently you can hear the buzz in the audience. Apparently they enjoyed the show.
It
But
was an engrossing show.
yes, and so one of the reasons he had this Q&A was to have a dialogue.
Right.
And this white woman stands up and basically says that why are white people always the effing this and effing that, and we're the ones causing all the trouble in the world. And then she goes on to talk about her own problems, but she's spouting such four-letter words and
Quote, the frustrated woman tells Harris, that's the playwright,
yes.
that she, quote, doesn't want to hear that white people are the plague all the time. This
Right.
is F. Bubba play, adding that she believes his play is, quote, racist against white people,
Right.
unquote. She then says she has been a victim of false arrest and sexual assault, as well as having her children taken away. How the am I not a marginalized member of this society? She asked Harris.
But I love the response, though. He said that, where did I say that you weren't marginalized?
Exactly. But the woman's just a plain nut. Because first of all, the play was not about race as a whole. It was examining race through three or
Slavery,
four couples, individuals.
8 people on
Yes.
stage representing the society,
representing
the historical society.
antebellum society as master and slave. But in a couple's atmosphere, it wasn't a condemnation of the whole thing. I mean, obviously it was. But this woman was clearly nuts. First of all, she had no vocabulary because she swore like
Right.
a sailor.
I was looking for an argument, and all I got were the cuss words. And I'm thinking,
But there was no argument because she was arguing against something entirely different.
yes. But why would she pay to see a play about slaves
So
and
she
think
could
that
come and rant and rave.
think that white people weren't going to come off bad? I mean,
It's very interesting because she's at the play called The Slave Play.
Right.
yeah.
And she gets up and says she was tired of hearing about things that happened, quote, 300 years ago, and a whole bunch of stuff about how white people don't know how racist they are. Well, since the play's called The Slave Play, and the slavery that existed in the North America, United States of America, was white people predominantly, because 1 or 2 black people owned slaves, enslaving black people. What would you expect to see on a stage called The Slave Play? And why did you pay money to go? And then berate the playwright for telling what he felt the problems with slavery was all about.
And I just wanted to get his name in, Jeremy O. Harris. Yeah, just wanted to get that name in.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and Slave Play has received quite very laudatory reviews,
I want to see it.
and has been, yes. I remember seeing a New York Times article before the play opened, and the headline on the play, on the article was, "Is Broadway ready for the Slave Play?"
Okay.
so
No, I wanna see
the
that,
guy who
definitely.
wrote the
I mean, if
article
they're
understood
asking that
in
this was going to
2019, I wanna see
be
that,
a
yeah.
pretty provoking kind of drama.
Right.
And anybody with 2 cents in their brain that read the title, maybe the synopsis, would know what to expect when they walked into the theater. So anyway, let's not beat that dead horse.
Yes, but I agree. Seeing that on the marquee, why would you walk in and think you were going to see something different?
I don't know, but this is all part of being black and brown in America, folks. That was number 2. What was number 3 on our list?
Let's see, what was number 3?
Well, there was one about there's a law that was passed in the state of New York that said school districts cannot discriminate against people because of their hairstyle. They just got flat sick and tired of kids being discriminated against in public schools, et cetera, et cetera. So they passed a law. But the story that popped into my inbox, Catholic schools are still cracking down on braids and cornrows despite anti-discrimination laws. So that popped into my inbox yesterday, December 2nd, because we're taping on December 3rd. And the lead paragraph is a mother's lawsuit against a school She says refused to let her 9-year-old son wear braids is raising concerns that laws banning discrimination against natural hairstyles are not being applied to Catholic schools. And so that's the nub of why I thought the story was worth raising.
Right.
Because what you have is a state law.
Yeah.
And the way the law is worded, there's some ambiguity about whether it can and cannot be applied to religious schools, et cetera, et cetera. But the lawyer that's taking the case says, no, I don't think that's the case, and I think she has a suit. But my point is, this is basically the same thing that we're having across the board when, you remember Hobby Lobby and the fact that they were not going to allow abortion insurance coverage that had abortions. Remember that? Against state law, federal law, whatever. This is a similar kind of case. If you've got an anti-discrimination hairstyle ban, then it should apply to every school. Catholic schools, yeshivas, none of these schools should be exempt. So
But
it's
the
going to be
courts,
interesting following this story.
the courts historically, unfortunately, have backed private and religious schools in terms of what they want to do, as opposed to what society.
Because the private institution.
Yeah, I mean, so that it's not a. Yeah, the state law is on the books, but yeah, you're right. It will be. It's going to be interesting watching it.
And the reason why I say it's going to be interesting, there's a clause evidently that the schools is relying on. According to this, though Cuomo and Mayor Bill de Blasio have criticized the school's hair policy banning braids, the academy may be protected by a loophole in this year's anti-discrimination laws, stating that they don't apply to, quote, private, religious, or denominational educational institutions or any, quote, religious corporation incorporated under the education law, unquote. You get a phrase like that, you're going to say, yeah, it doesn't apply to me.
Right.
So how are you going to get around that? So that's why I say, despite the lawyer saying, nah, he thinks it applies to everybody, this is going to be interesting to see how it plays out in court.
I mean, we've seen before how school districts, public ones. We had and I just looked it up, that case last December with the wrestler who had his cornrows, his dreadlocks clipped before the match.
So he could finish the match.
So he could finish the match because a white referee said it was against the law, and there was no such rule.
The law?
There was no blah, blah, blah.
Against the wrestling rules. I mean, there's nothing.
And there was no such.
There was no such high school athletic whatever federation wrestling rule that said that.
Right.
So there was a viral video of the kid getting his dreadlocks cut. You could tell it took the soul out of him.
Yeah.
He won the match, but it took the soul out of him. You can tell he just flattened.
And social media lit up in outrage.
And all of his teammates supported him.
And guess what? I think they fired that ref.
He's no longer.
I think he was fired.
He's no longer certified to be a ref.
Yes,
for sure.
They decertified him.
He might turn up elsewhere, but not in that school district.
But the capper on this story is that Oliver Koppel, the attorney representing the family, the Batts family, disagrees with that quote paragraph in the law, and he says bluntly, the bans on hairstyle are illegal under state and city law. There is no doubt in my mind, end quote. But guess what? That's that paragraph. So let's see how this plays out in a court of law, folks.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So we bring that one because this young man is a black kid with braids, and that's what he has to fight his way through just to go to school. I believe, matter of fact, the story says they have transferred schools, but he could run into this again somewhere else. You never know.
Right.
Why would you have to? You have to transfer to school? I know.
I don't know why everybody's so preoccupied with how we wear our hair. You know, it's like now. I told you a story earlier.
Tell the story. This shows you how many years this has been. You were what grade?
I believe it was kindergarten or no later than the first grade for sure. So we're talking 53, 54
years,
something like that.
I mean, 60 years ago.
And I don't know. Somebody, either my teacher, or the photographer decided that they needed to do something with my hair
For the photo session.
For this class photo.
Wow.
And I got to tell you, I look like Don King because they took something I don't know and just like wore like that with my hair, and I'm like, I look like Don King's son. You know?
Wow.
For our younger viewers who don't remember Don King, that's hair sticking out every which way.
My mother said, "What? Who did that?" I think she went down to the school. I don't remember all the details.
I'm sure
she
she
was
went down
really
there living.
angry, and I know she went down to the school.
I'm
I don't
sure she
remember
did.
the outcome. But,
But
yeah,
you-
I
but-
can see that photograph right now.
But both of you worked at ABC and for the longest time, and you know what they did to women with their women of color. If they got on the air at all, you couldn't possibly wear your hair natural
No, yeah, they
until
had the
who was it?
Barbie haircut.
I remember Melba Tolliver had a long running battle with them about her wearing her hair natural.
I believe
whatever.
that.
Yeah,
I didn't
and
know about
I-
that, but I believe it.
yeah.
I believe it was Paula Madison locally. Paula Madison, I forget.
Well, she took over WNBC, so when she took over, I'm sure she probably changed that policy.
well, yeah, I mean, but all of a sudden you had a woman of color with natural hair. I mean, but it wasn't.
Probably because Paula became the new
Yeah,
director for
yeah.
WNBC.
Yeah, but it's.
But no, Melba had Melba Tolliver used to be an anchor at
I remember.
WNBC.
Yes.
And
An icon.
And before, at one time she just said, I'm not straightening, I'm not wearing wigs, I'm going to wear my hair natural. And they had big battle.
Didn't she wear? She wore an afro, didn't she?
Yeah, I
At
believe
one
it was
time.
a
At
natural.
one time.
It wasn't
Sure.
braids.
At one
It was,
time.
I believe
Yeah,
it was an afro.
yeah.
That was
No, I
her
remember,
natural.
yep.
That was her.
Yeah.
And I believe they tried to suspend her, and I believe
Yes.
the community got up in arms, and before long
they
she
got-
was back on air
They
with
got
her natural.
they got letters and phone calls. Yes,
So-
absolutely.
So the hair thing has been with us because black and brown people don't have hair the same as Caucasian people.
I wish I had
And the
any kind of hair.
Caucasian
I'll tell you right now.
folk say we are the default, and so everybody has to do what we do. And
Right.
black and brown people finally said, no, we don't. And so there's the battle.
I could never understand that. I can remember also when I was a child, my grandmother sitting in my mother's kitchen and my mother frying my grandmother's hair.
Yeah, that was to try to make it
I
look
mean-
like Caucasian people's hair. That was the
And
nature of the beast. People put
but it
themselves
didn't.
through a lot
But
of
it
stuff.
didn't. So why go through that?
Well, they thought it did. Well, you mean it didn't to you?
No.
Right.
To them, maybe it did. I know. I've seen. Black beauty parlors used to have all kinds of straightening combs. And all that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
know.
So you,
Oh, yeah.
you understand.
But I could never get through the iron comb on
Yeah.
the stove
Yes.
and the
Oh, my-
pomade.
Yes.
It's
and-
not
whoa,
that
man, why would you do that to
My mother had
yourself?
that. Sure,
Yeah.
we wouldn't touch it because you
here's
get
the
burnt once as a kid.
here's
You,
the thing. It's about fitting in
yeah.
and getting over. So now, just look at the music industry, and I'll give you one prime example. Sam Cooke was a legend in his own time.
He was.
Okay? Sam Cooke could write fabulous songs, could sing anything practically, and he was whatever. When he first started out, he used to not straighten whatever they do, put process in his hair and whatever. He and all the groups he sang with, a whole bunch of these R&B groups, you'd see slick back, jet black hair.
yeah, no, I
They
remember
went
that.
through all kinds of processing stuff
Sure,
to do
I
that
remember that.
because that's how they thought it was going to get over, and people
Yeah.
would put him on contracts and labels.
I remember.
When
yeah,
Sam
sure,
Cooke
I understand.
got
I get it.
religion,
Mm-hmm.
probably about the time he wrote A Change Is Gonna Come,
Right.
or a little before,
Then he started.
Sam Cooke said, none of that nonsense.
Yep.
He let his hair grow out. He went natural till the day he unfortunately lost his life in what was still something questionable to me at some motel, but that's another story for another time. But anyway, that's part of the burden of being black and brown in America, which is
Yes.
why we're doing this particular segment.
Fitting
Hair
in.
is one of those things
Yeah.
that causes us problems in
wonder-
this society.
I wonder how many of these young black kids I see walking around with these essentially do-rags. I wonder if they actually know that that's what they're wearing.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You
yeah,
know, 'cause
yeah.
Probably
they
not.
look-
They don't
Yeah,
understand the
right.
history of it.
That's exactly
And-
right.
and the do-rag turned into colors. And
Yeah,
that's what those
exactly.
guys started
Right,
wearing,
right,
their
right,
own brand and their own name
right,
thing. And
right,
then that
right.
becomes
Right.
more dangerous
Yeah,
than
well,
the
that's
do-rag.
another, that's
Okay?
another story.
All right.
That's
No,
another
the types of chemicals that black people would put in their hair during that era.
Why?
It
Why?
would
I mean, basically,
Crazy.
why?
it would take
was
it would
why.
take all of the paint off this
Off of everything.
Yes,
And your skin to
yes,
boot.
yes.
All right, so now here's a story that's probably in the being black and brown in America, just because, but I shouldn't say that because I didn't do the statistical research. but homelessness in this country tends to be very high in the black and brown community. But we may not necessarily be the most homeless people
I
in
was
this
just
country.
about to say that.
Okay,
I don't
that's
think
why
we
I'm
are.
saying.
I don't think we are.
But the reason why I call this story up is because New York gave homeless offer they can't refuse. New Jersey mayor's lawsuit claims.
Yes. Oh,
Okay,
yeah, right.
So now you have a white mayor
Uh-huh.
in the city of New York who's got a program that's giving people money and telling them, go to Jersey. We don't have any room here. Go to Jersey and we'll pay the rent for a week. And the black mayor of Newark, New Jersey, Ras Baraka, said, no, we're not going to let that happen. I'm going to file a lawsuit. So Ras Baraka is suing Bill de Blasio
I don't blame
for
him. I don't blame him.
dumping, he
But-
says, dumping New York's homeless into Newark.
It's exactly what
That
we...
is an amazing story.
It's exactly what we did with the mentally ill when they closed down all of the hospitals.
Yeah, we dumped them on the streets. We
we
didn't dump them anywhere.
Oh,
we
no,
dumped
we
them on the
get,
streets.
we get, yeah, and some of them got bus tickets out of town.
Oh, where?
Yeah.
To which town? My point is, which town did they bus them to?
Probably New Jersey,
I see, don't tell
probably
me probably.
Connecticut.
I
I don't
see,
know.
yeah,
I
right.
can't tell you now.
Okay.
We're talking this. I'm talking back in the 70s.
Okay.
They
All
bust
right.
people out of this place.
But folks, the headline is really about the fact that New York's program, it's called the SOTA, Special One-Time Assistance, SOTA is the acronym. And the lawsuit accuses the Blasio administration special one-time program of using strong-arm tactics to send people across the Hudson River to find a place to live. This case concerns an unlawful program of coerced migration, is the quote.
Okay.
Newark lawyer says in court documents filed in U.S. District Court in New Jersey on Monday. So that's 2 days ago.
Okay.
So it's very interesting that evidently they come in, they tell the people, look, here's the money. We got no space, but we know there are places in Jersey and we'll pay 1 year's rent ahead of time for you. And this is an offer you can't refuse.
If you're homeless, it is.
That was, well, the implication was it was a mafia offer you can't refuse
Yeah,
offer.
yeah.
Take it or else.
Right.
So,
Right.
Well, take it or stay on the street. Yeah.
so the bottom line is there's a legal suit between New York City and Newark, New Jersey about homeless people being dumped in Newark.
Now, even before that suit was filed, I remember it was covered by the local news, the program itself, because in paying these landlords a year of rent ahead of time, they would dump them anywhere. They would plug them into substandard housing and then not provide any services
Well,
to
the
speak of.
landlord would not provide any service
Right.
because he already had that money up front.
Exactly.
So he could care less.
Right.
Yeah.
It was in his pocket. All he needed to do was give the person a key. Beyond that,
Wow.
And so
Who
that-
was this, Leitcha?
I remember there was.
No, don't blame Nashik.
Yeah,
Nashik
no,
got
I
his own
know, I
bad
know,
crap.
I know.
But I remember the video.
It's
Some of the housing they dumped them in was pretty bad.
Nashik
sure.
got his own problems.
I know Nigel's
before we put other stuff on him.
Yes.
Please.
SOTA, S-O-T-A,
Yeah,
not
I
NYCHA.
know. You weren't
Yes.
paying
Okay.
attention.
So there's one other story that deals with education in the city of New York.
And we have
which
about
is-
5 minutes.
Okay, I guess we could do that story in 5 minutes, but
Yes.
maybe we should do it quicker so we can at least do a quick blow by blow
Sure.
what's happening in the news. But the headline is a follow-up story to another story: why white parents were at the front of the line for the school tour. And the school tour was for a public high school in the city of New York, somewhere in
Upper West Side, isn't it?
yeah, I think it's
I'm
not
not
Chelsea,
sure.
but somewhere in
I
that
never
area.
heard of it before.
That's my point.
Okay.
Most of the New York parents don't even know the school exists. There's that school
I didn't
called
know that.
Beacon.
Okay.
It's called
I
Beacon.
I never heard
The
of it.
high stakes of high school admissions in New York and the lengths some go to get any small advantage. That's the sub-headline. There's a trick to getting to the front of the lines, blah, 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 blah. Parents who pay $200 for a newsletter compiled by a local admissions consultant know that they should arrive hours ahead of the scheduled start time for school tours. And this is a public school. And you would think that the school would publish that kind of information on its website, or if not, the Board of Ed would provide a free notification to any parent in the city school district that's got a high school eligible class. They don't do any of that, but the white parents subscribe to the $200 newsletter, and they get tips,
notice, yeah.
and so they show up 8 hours ahead of the start time. So they're at the front of the line, and the kid can't get into school if the parents haven't taken the tour.
Right.
So,
And I noticed, I read the same article, and this African American woman was standing towards the end of the line, with her child, and she said, "Oh, I didn't know I needed to get here.
I needed
I
to
didn't
hear
see
8 hours
the
ahead of time."
newsletter."
Right.
You know, of course, you didn't see the newsletter.
We're laughing,
you know,
but
it's not. It's not.
But it's
funny,
not
yeah,
a funny
no,
thing.
not
And
at all.
basically, it's interestingly enough, I got to this story because I saw the lead story, and the lead story was Beacon High School is 50% black. Students are on strike. I said, are they on strike because they got too many black kids or what? So I read the story, and the story was these kids were out protesting because they only had a 50-50 student body, and they were in middle of Manhattan, and they knew there were more black and brown kids in their neighborhood and in the entire borough.
Right.
And so why is their school, and that school actually has the highest ratio of white students in it, but it's a select school, folk. Beacon High is one of these preferred schools. It's got high ranking, high whatever. And so, but half the parents eligible high school age, especially the ones who live in black and brown communities, don't even know Beacon High School exists.
I never heard of it.
Don't know that they can apply to get in because Bloomberg put in this school choice thing. So you can apply to go to any high school you want to. But you got to know where the good schools are so you can apply
Right.
to
Well.
it. And these black and brown parents don't know it. But the follow-up story was when I saw why white people in the front of the line, I said, let me read that one.
You know,
So it's tough to be black and brown in America, folks. That's what that's what this segment's all about. So, but anyway, you got privilege, you get perks. Wealth allows for perks and privilege, and so you buy the $200 newsletter. You get more information. You get preference, and you are online first, etc.
Right.
And your kid may not be any smarter. And
Well,
I think
you know,
part of the Beacon
there's
thing
a-
was folks were saying, all these kids here ain't here because they smart. They're here because they privileged and white. It's not because, they're
because
doing
their
so
parents
great
read the
academically.
newsletter.
That was some of some
Okay.
stuff. But anyway,
And we have
so-
a minute.
So okay, in 1 minute, then I guess we could at least impeachment thing has gone to the Judiciary Committee, and guess what, folks? Today is the day they start their hearings.
Right.
We weren't paying any
Looking
attention because we were busy preparing this show.
Yes.
but I saw a headline of Rudy Giuliani's in Ukraine trying to meet with somebody, I don't know what, but the Southern District of New York got their eyes on Rudolph Giuliani.
Yes.
What else is in the news? Oh, Kamala Harris dropped out.
Yes.
Michael Bloomberg
Jumped in.
He blew in with all his billions, and Kamala Harris says, I don't have enough money to keep up with these crazies.
Yes.
I have to drop out.
Yes.
And so there's more to be seen and heard about impeachment. That there's a call list of all the calls that were made that became public. This stuff is going to get really, really interesting. Pay attention to this impeachment stuff.
It's going to get interesting.
This has been Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
And we will catch you the next time, and be sure to check us out on,
Twitter and YouTube at Media Watch EVT.
and that's it for this session, folks. Catch you the next time.